गणानान्त्वा गणपतिगुं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमम् ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनः शृण्वन्नोतिभिः सीदसादनम् प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामभित्रवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ नमो भगवते रुद्राय ॐ नमस्ते रुद्रमन्यव उदोत इषवे नमः नमस्ते अस्तु धन्वने बाहुभ्यामुत ते नमः यात इषुः शिवतमा शिवं बभूव ते धनुः शिवा शरव्यायातवतया नो रुद्रमृडया या ते रुद्रशिवा तनूरघोरा पापकाशिनी तया नः सनुवाशन्तमया गिरिशन्ताभिचाकशीः यामिषुं गिरिशन्तहस्ते बिभर्षस्तवे शिवाङ्गिरित्रतां कुरु माहि गुंसीः पुरुषं जगत् शिवेन वचसा त्वा गिरिशाच्छावदामसि यथा नः सर्वमिज्जगदयक्ष्मगुं सुमना असत् अध्यवोचदधिवक्ता प्रथमो दैव्योऽभिषक् अहीरुश्च सर्वाञ्जम्भयन् सर्वाश्च यातु धान्यः असौ यस्ताम्रो अरुण उत बभ्रुः सुमङ्गलः ये क्षेमागुं रुद्रा अभितो दिक्षु श्रिताः सहस्रशो वैशागुं हेड ईमहे असौ यो वसर्पति नीलग्रीवो विलोहितः उतैनं गोपा अदृशन्नदृशन्नुदहार्यः उतैनौ विश्वाभूतानि सदृष्टो मृडयातिनः नमो अस्तु नीलग्रीवाय सहस्राक्षाय मीरुषे अथो ये अस्य सत्त्वानो हन्तेभ्यो करन्नमः प्रमुञ्च धन्वनस्त्वमुभयोराग्नियोर्जाम् याश्च ते हस्त इषवः पराता भगवो वपा अवतत्यधनुस्वगुं सहस्राक्षशतेषु धे निशीलशल्यानां मुखा शिवो नः सुमना भव विज्जन्धनुः कपर्दिनो विशल्यो बाणवागुम् उदा अनेशन्नस्येषव आभुरस्य निषङ्गतिः याते हेतिर्मीढुष्टमहस्ये बभूव ते धनुः तयास्मान् विश्वतस्त्वमयक्ष्मया परिभुजा नमस्ते अस्त्वायुधाय नातताय धृष्णवे उभाभ्यामुत ते नमो बाहुभ्यां तव धन्वने परिते धन्वनो हेतिरस्मान् वृणक्तु विश्वतः अथो य इषुधिस्तवारे अस्मन्निदेहितम् नमस्ते अस्तु भगवन् विश्वेश्वराय महादेवाय त्र्यम्बकाय त्रिपुरान्तकाय त्रिकाग्निकालाय कालाग्निरुद्राय नीलकण्ठाय मृत्युञ्जयाय सर्वेश्वराय सदाशिवाय श्रीमन्महादेवाय नमः नमो हिरण्यवाहवे सेनान्ये दिशां च पतये नमो नमो वृक्षेभ्यो हरिकेशेभ्यः पशूनां पतये नमो नमः सस्पिञ्जराय त्विषीमते पथीनां पतये नमो नमो बभ्रुषाय विव्याधिनेन्नानां पतये नमो नमो हरिकेशायोपवीतिने पुष्टानां पतये नमो नमो भवस्य हेत्यै जगतां पतये नमो नमो रुद्राय तथाविने क्षेत्राणां पतये नमो नमः सूताय हन्त्याय वनानां पतये नमो नमो रोहिताय स्थपतये वृक्षाणां पतये नमो नमो मन्त्रिणे वाणिजाय कक्षाणां पतये नमो नमो भुवन्तये वारिवस्कृताय औषधीनां पतये नमो नम उच्चैर्घोषाय क्रन्दयते पत्नीनां पतये नमो नमः कृष्णवीताय धावते सत्त्वनां पतये नमः नमः सहमानाय निर्व्याधिन आव्याधिनीनां पतये नमो नमः ककुभाय निषङ्गिणे सेनानां पतये नमो नमो निषङ्गिण इषुधिमते तस्कराणां पतये नमो नमो वञ्चते परिवञ्चते सायूनां पतये नमो नमो निचेरवे परिचरायारण्यानां पतये नमो नमः श्रिकाविभ्यो जिघागुं सद्भ्यो मुष्णतां पतये नमो नमोऽसिमद्भ्यो नक्तञ्चरद्भ्यः प्रकृन्तानां पतये नमो नम उष्णीषिणे गिरिचराय कुलुञ्चानां पतये नमो नम इषुमद्भ्यो धन्वाविभ्यश्च वो नमो नम आधन्वानेभ्यः प्रतिदधानेभ्यश्च वो नमो नम आयच्छद्भ्यो विसृजद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नमोऽस्यद्भ्यो विद्यद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नम आसीनेभ्यः शयानेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः स्वपद्भ्यो जाग्रद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नमस्तिष्ठद्भ्यो धावद्भ्यश्च वो नमो नमः सभाभ्यः सभापतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो अश्वेभ्यो श्वपतिभ्यश्च वो नमः नमो व्याधिनीभ्यो विविध्यन्तीभ्यश्च वो नमो नम उगणाभ्यस्त्रिगुंहतीभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो गृत्सेभ्यो गृत्सपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो व्रातेभ्यो गणेभ्यो प्रातपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो गणेभ्यो गणपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो विरूपेभ्यो विश्वरूपेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो महद्भ्यः क्षुल्लकेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो रथिभ्यो रथेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो रथेभ्यो रथपतिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः सेनाभ्यः सेनानिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः शत्रुभ्यः सङ्ग्रहीतृभ्यश्च वो नमो नमस्तक्षभ्यो रथकारेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः कुलालेभ्यः कर्मारेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः पुञ्जिष्टेभ्यो निषादेभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः इषुकृभ्यो धन्वकृभ्यश्च वो नमो नमो मृगयुभ्यश्वनिभ्यश्च वो नमो नमः श्वभ्यश्वपतिभ्यश्च वो नमः नमो भवाय च रुद्राय च नमः शर्वाय च पशुपतये च नमो नीलग्रीवाय च शितिकण्ठाय च नमः कपर्दिने च व्युक्तकेशाय च नमः सहस्राक्षाय च शतधन्वने च नमो गिरिशाय च शिपिविष्टाय च नमो मेधुष्टमाय चेषुमते च नमो ह्रस्वाय च वामनाय च नमो बृहते च वर्षीयसे च नमो वृद्धाय च संवृध्वने च नमो अग्र्याय च प्रथमाय च नमः आशवे चाजिराय च नमः शीघ्रियाय च शीभ्याय च नमः ऊर्याय चावस्वन्याय च नमः स्रोतस्याय च द्वीप्याय च नमो ज्येष्ठाय च कनिष्ठाय च नमः पूर्वजाय चापरजाय च नमो मध्यमाय चापगल्भाय च नमो जघन्याय च बुद्ध्याय च नमः सोऽभ्याय च प्रतिसर्याय च नमो याम्याय च क्षेम्याय च नमः उर्वर्याय च खल्याय च नमः श्लोक्याय चावसान्याय च नमो वन्याय च कक्ष्याय च नमः श्रवाय च प्रतिश्रवाय च नमः आशुषेणाय चाशुरथाय च नमः शूराय चावभिन्धते च नमो वर्णिने च वरोधिने च नमो बिल्मिने च कवचिने च नमः श्रुताय च श्रुतसेनाय च नमो दुन्दुभ्याय चाहनन्याय च नमो धृष्णवे च प्रमृषाय च नमो दूताय च प्रहिताय च नमो निषङ्गिणे चेषु धिमते च नमस्तीक्ष्णेषवे चायुधिने च नमः स्वायुधाय च सुधन्वने च नमः श्रुत्याय च पथ्याय च नमः काट्याय च नीप्याय च नमः सूद्याय च सरस्याय च नमो नाद्याय च वैशन्ताय च नमः कूप्याय च वट्याय च नमो वर्षाय च वर्ष्याय च नमो मेघ्याय च विद्युत्याय च नमः ईध्रियाय च तप्याय च नमो वात्याय च रेष्म्याय च नमो वास्तव्याय च वास्तुपाय च ॐ हर 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 ॐ नमः सोमाय च रुद्राय च नमः ताम्राय चारुणाय च नमः शङ्गाय च पशुपतये च नमः उग्राय च भीमाय च नमो अग्रे वधाय च दूरे वधाय च नमो हन्त्रे च हनीयसे च नमो वृक्षेभ्यो हरिकेशेभ्यो नमस्ताराय नमः शम्भवे च मयो भवे च नमः शङ्कराय च मयस्कराय च नमः शिवाय च शिवतराय च नमस्तीर्थ्याय च कूल्याय च नमः आर्याय च वार्याय च नमः प्रतरणाय चोत्तरणाय च नमः आतार्याय च लाद्याय च नमः षष्ट्याय च फेन्याय च नमः सिकत्याय च प्रवाह्याय च नमः हिरण्याय च प्रपथ्याय च नमः किगुंशिलाय च क्षयणाय च नमः कपर्दिने च पुलस्तये च नमो गोष्ठ्याय च गृह्याय च नमः स्तल्प्याय च गेह्याय च नमः काट्याय च गह्वरेष्ठाय च नमो हृदयाय च निवेश्याय च नमः पागुंसव्याय च रजस्याय च नमः शुष्क्याय च हरित्याय च नमो लोप्याय चोलप्याय च नमः ऊर्व्याय च सूर्याय च नमः पर्ण्याय च पर्णशद्याय च नमो पगुरमाणाय चाभिघ्नते च नमः आखिदते च प्रखिदते च नमो वह्किरिकेभ्यो देवानागुं हृदयेभ्यो नमो विक्षीणकेभ्यो नमो विचिन्वत्केभ्यो नम आनिर्हतेभ्यो नम आमीवत्केभ्यः द्रावे अन्धसस्पते दरिद्रन्नीललोहिता येषां पुरुषाणामेषां पशूनां मा भेमा रोमो येषां किञ्चनाममत् या ते रुद्रशिवा तनुः शिवा विश्वाह भेषजी शिवा रुद्रस्य भेषजी तया नो मृडजीवसे इमागुं रुद्राय तवसे कपर्दिने क्षयद्वीराय प्रभरामहे मतिम् यथा नः शमसद्विपदे चतुष्पदे विश्वं पुष्टं ग्रामे अस्मिन्ननातुरम् मृडानो रुद्रोतनो मयस्कृधि क्षयद्वीराय नमसा विधेमते यच्छञ्च योश्च मनुरायजे पिता तदश्याम तव रुद्रः प्रणीतौ मानो महान्तमुतमानो अर्भकं मान उक्षन्तमुतमान उक्षितम् मानो वधीः पितरं मोत मातरं प्रियामानस्तनुवो रुद्ररीरिषः मानस्तोके तनये मान आयुषि मानो गोषु मानो अश्वेषु रीरिषः वीरान्मानो रुद्रभामितो वधीर्हविष्मन्तो नमसा विधेमते आरात्ते गोघ्न उत पूरुषग्ने क्षयद्वीराय सुम्नमस्मेते अस्तु रक्षा च नो अधि च देव ब्रूह्यथा च नः शर्म यच्छद्विबर्हाः सुहिश्रुतं गर्तसदैयुवानं मृगन्न भीममुपहत्नुमुग्रम् मृडाचरित्रे रुद्रस्तवानो अन्यन्ते अस्मन्निवपन्तु सेनाः परिणो रुद्रस्य हेतिर्वृणक्तु परित्वेषस्य दुर्मतिरघायोः अवस्थिरा भगवद्भ्यस्तनुष्वमीढ्वस्तोकायतनयाय मृडय मीढुष्टमशिवतम शिवो नः सुमना भव परमे वृक्ष आयुधन्निधाय कृत्युं वसान आचर पिनाकं बिभ्रदागहि विकिरितविलोहित नमस्ते अस्तु भगवः यास्ते सहस्रगुं हेतयोऽन्यमस्मन्निवपन्तु ताः सहस्राणि सहस्रधा बाहुवोस्तव हेतयः तासामीशानो भगवः पराचीनामुखाकृधि सहस्राणि सहस्रशो ये रुद्रा अधिभूम्याम् तेषागुं सहस्रयोजने वधन्वानि तन्मसि अस्मिन् महत्यर्णवेऽन्तरिक्षे भवा अधि नीलग्रीवाश्रितिकण्ठाः शर्वा अधः क्षमाचराः नीलग्रीवाश्रितिकण्ठादिवकुं रुद्रा उपश्रिताः ये वृक्षेषु सस्पिञ्जरा नीलग्रीवा विलोहिताः ये भूतानामधिपतयो विशिखासः कपर्दिनः ये अन्येषु विविध्यन्ति पात्रेषु पिबतो जनान ये पथां पथिरक्षय ऐलभृदायव्युधः ये तीर्थानि प्रचरन्ति सृकावन्तो निषङ्गिणः य एतावन्तश्च भूयागुंसश्च दिशो रुद्रावितस्थिरे तेषागुं सहस्रयोजने वधन्वानि तन्मसि नमो रुद्रेभ्यो ये पृथिव्या येऽन्तरिक्षे ये दिवि येषामन्नौ वातो वर्षमिषवस्तेभ्यो दश प्राचीर्दश दक्षिणा दश प्रतीचीर्दशोदीचीर्दशोर्ध्वास्तेभ्यो नमस्ते नो मृडयन्तु ते यं द्विष्मो यश्च नो द्वेष्टितं वोजम्भे दधामि त्र्यम्बकं यजामहे सुगन्धिं पुष्टिवर्धनम् उर्वारुकमिव बन्धनान् मृत्योर्मुक्षीयमामृतात् यो रुद्रो अग्नौ यो अप्सु य ओषधीषु यो रुद्रो विश्वा भुवना विवेश तस्मै रुद्राय नमो अस्तु ये ते सहस्रमयुतं पाशा मृत्यो मर्त्याय हन्तवे तान् यज्ञस्य मायया सर्वानवयजामहे मृत्यवे स्वाहा मृत्यवे स्वाहा प्राणानां ग्रन्थिरसि रुद्रो मा विशान्तकः तेनान्नेनाप्यायस्व नमो रुद्राय विष्णवे मृत्युर्मे पाहि तमुष्टु हि यस्विषुः सुधन्वायो विश्वस्य क्षयति भेषजस्य यक्ष्वामहेसौ मनसाय रुद्रन्नमोभिर्देवमसुरन्दुवस्य अयं मे हस्तो भगवान् अयं मे भगवत्तरः अयं मे विश्वभेषजो यगुं शिवाभिमर्शनः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः शञ्च मे मयश्च मे प्रियञ्च मेऽनुकामश्च मे कामश्च मे सौमनसश्च मे भद्रञ्च मे श्रेयश्च मे वस्यश्च मे यशश्च मे भगश्च मे द्रविणञ्च मे यन्ता च मे धर्ता च मे क्षेमश्च मे धृतिश्च मे विश्वञ्च मे महश्च मे संविच्च मे ज्ञात्रञ्च मे सूश्च मे प्रसूश्च मे सीरञ्च मे लयश्च मरुतञ्च मे मृतञ्च मे लक्ष्मञ्च मे नामयच्च मे जीवातुश्च मे दीर्घायुत्वञ्च मे नमित्रञ्च मे भयञ्च मे सुगञ्च मे शयनञ्च मे सूषा च मे सुदिनञ्च मे ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः स्वस्ति प्रजाभ्यः परिपालयन्ताम् न्यायेन मार्गेण महीं महिषाः गोब्राह्मणेभ्यः शुभमस्तु नित्यम् समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्तलोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः
Om Shri Sai Ram. I take this opportunity to collectively offer our most humble pranam at the lotus feet of our Divine Mother and Father, our Sai Baba. We warmly welcome all delegates to Day 2 of the Second Global Vedic Conference. Day 1 guided us through reflections on integrating Vedic wisdom with modern knowledge across health, consciousness, science, and education, pointing towards a shared vision of global progress. With this continuity of thought, we proceed with the morning session. We have two eminent speakers with us, Dr. Saritha Iyer and Dr. Suma. Our first speaker, Dr. Saritha Iyer, is an associate professor in the Department of Business Administration of Ettumanoorappan College, Kerala, and is an eloquent speaker in Indian knowledge system. Dr. Saritha will be sharing her insights on topic, The Science of Rudram, a contemporary exploration of the Vedic chant through modern scientific perspective. Following Dr. Saritha Iyer, we have our second speaker, Dr. Suma. Dr. Suma is an associate professor in the Department of Management and Commerce, Chairperson, Center for Sri Sathya Sai Studies, Sri Sathya Sai Institute of Higher Learning, Prasanthi Nilayam. Dr. Suma will be sharing her thoughts on topic, Vedam Beyond Boundaries, Bhagwan Sri Sathya Sai Baba's universal message. I warmly welcome both our speakers. I now request Dr. Saritha Iyer to kindly share her insights. Sai Ram.
I offer my humble pranams at the lotus feet of our beloved Bhagavan, Shri Sathya Sai Baba. Respected elders, distinguished guests, ladies and gentlemen, my dear students, Om Shri Sai Ram. During these days of Global Vedic Conference, I wish to reflect upon the topic, is Veda scientific, or is there any relationship between Veda and science? Some concepts that we study in science are found in the Vedas. Pointing this out, some people claim that Vedas are scientific and attempt to explain Vedas in scientific terms. Let's examine what our gurus have said about this, because we must understand to what extent is this correct and even logical. Our gurus have stated that they have said that Vedas are not scientific, nor is there any need to make Vedas scientific, because the reason they give is that the subject matter discussed in the Vedas, to be more precise, the core subject matter discussed in the Vedas and that discussed in the science are entirely different. First, let's see what science deals with. Whether it is physics, chemistry, or any other branch of science, it examines the existence, development, and evolution of created physical entities. These discussions are confined within the 5 elements, Panchabhutas. Hence, we can say that the domain of science is limited to Panchabhutas. Within that boundary, whatever science, whatever knowledge science is providing is real and valid. However, the Vedas discuss that which lies beyond this. Vedas speak about that which existed even before the Panchabhutas came into being. That is why Swami has said, where science ends, spirituality begins. The Vedas expound on supreme reality, Brahman. From this perspective, we can say that Vedas existed even before the origin of science and even before the creation started. What science has not yet understood, Vedas know. Even where the limits of science ends, the meaning of the Vedas continues to be revealed. That which lies beyond science is called divine. And this divinity, and we can define this divinity as one that we cannot understand or that cannot be known through worldly means of validation. Vedas speak about such transcendental matters, and in Sanskrit, they are referred to as alaukika upayam. To understand the meaning of the word alaukikam, first we must understand the word laukikam. And to understand the word laukikam, we must understand the word lokam. Lokam is a Sanskrit word, and the definition for lokam in Sanskrit is lukyate anena iti lokaha. Lukyate means to look at. The English word look is derived from the Sanskrit word lukyate. Hence, in general, we can say that whatever we can see is lokam. Then whatever we cannot see is alokam. Then Vedas discuss matters that we cannot see. But the nature of Vedas are more precisely and clearly described or explained by Sri Kumarila Bhattapada in his Shloka Vartikam. It goes like this: Pratyakshenanumithaiva yastupayona vidyate etam vindanti vedena tasmat vedasya vedata. I'll repeat. Pratyakshenanumithaiva yastupayona vidyate etam vindanti vedena tasmat vedasya vedata. Pratyakshenanumithaiva. Pratyaksha means direct. Anumitteva. Anumana means influence. Hence, Vedas speak about that which we cannot understand through direct perception, inference, sensory testimony, or study. Such transcendental reality is what we call the divine. And this divinity is the subject matter of the Vedas. There is no need for Vedas to discuss matters that are directly perceptible. For example, fire is hot, ice is cold, one has to take medicine when he is ill. All these are known to us through direct experiences. Hence, these direct experiences do not fall within the subject matter of science. Now, coming to inference, I'll tell you an example. When you see smoke from a distance, you infer the presence of fire. This is the most common example we can see in our scriptures. And this inference is also not the core subject matter of the Vedas. The subject matter of the Vedas begins when all this direct perception and inference ends. Vedas speak about that which cannot be explained through our senses, mind, intellect, and worldly analogies. This becomes more evident when you study Vedas and Upanishads. To understand the word divine, to some extent, I will narrate you a few examples because it is said that example is not a way of education, but example is the only way of education. Suppose one desires to have a child. All non-worldly methods were tried. They were known as Laukika Upayam, but no result. Then someone told him to perform some puja or to chant Sri Rudram, because Sri Rudram has prayers for all our wishes, especially in the Chamakam part. Then he started chanting Sri Rudram very devotionally every day for a particular period, and the child is born. Can we scientifically prove that the result occurred is due to the chanting of mantra? No. We don't know how the result occurred. We do not know the philosophy behind this. We don't know the methodology behind this. Science cannot measure or give proof to the effect of mantra. Science cannot measure the power of mantra because all these are transcendental realities. Where all kinds of worldly means are exhausted, the Vedic mantras begin to operate. I'll narrate you one more example. Shankaracharya of Sringeri Sharada Pitam, Sri Chandrasekhara Bharati Swamigal, was traveling to Devakottai via Srirangam, Tiruchirappalli and Pudukottai. It was a time of very little rain there. But the devotees there had arranged everything that they needed for a very large community feast. But there was a severe scarcity of water. Hence, Swamigal's manager decided to cancel the feast and move to the nearest accommodation as soon as possible. Knowing this, Swamigal called Sri Krishna Shastri, who was traveling with Swamigal, and told him to bring Mahabharatam Virata Parvam. As soon as he received the text, Swamigal started the Parayana, reading of that book. After some time, Swamigal started walking around, chanting in a very low voice. By 2 o'clock, 2 p.m., atmosphere became dark, and after half an hour, a heavy downpour began. By 4:30 p.m., Sarvathikari came and informed Swamigal that they have received too much rain and requested Swamigal to stop the chanting and perform the Arati. Swamigal did accordingly and the rain was stopped. Later, when someone inquired about this incident, Swamigal said, "At that time, I was chanting the Varuna mantra. Vyasa Bhagavan had embedded the Vijakshara of Varuna mantram in the Mahabharata Virata Parvam. Hence, when the Parayanam, the reading of the Virata Parvam, and the chanting of the Varuna mantra got combined, the rain was brought. Hence, we must understand that the subject matter of Itihasas and Puranas are not limited to Laukika Upayams. They discuss Alaukika Upayams also, because Itihasas and Puranas are a detailed explanation of the Vedas. If it rains after chanting a mantra, how science can prove that the rain occurred is due to the chanting? Even though science attempts to analyze such circumstances, it fails to obtain proof, as all the proof it seeks are limited to the physical realm. Similarly, since Swami's divinity transcends the Panchabhutas, we are unable to comprehend and describe it. Some may call it magic and attempt to explain Swami's divinity within the limited framework of human knowledge. How can beings formed of Panchabhutas comprehend that is beyond Panchabhutas? Hence, we must understand that we cannot understand the Vedas through science. The relationship between science and the Veda is material. We can understand the divinity only through sadhana and practice. And Sri Rudram discuss, or we can see this divinity in Sri Rudram. Sri Rudram says, Taskaranam padaye namaha. Taskaran means thief. My salutations to the thief. When we say this, naturally a question may arise. If saints are and sinners are seen together, then how will the world's affairs be conducted? Won't the sinners increase? Here we are not saying that we should openly worship the thief or the sinner. We are completely opposing the sin of sinners, but we are worshipping the soul within the sinner. Here we separate the person and the act. Here comes the uniqueness of Sanatana Dharma. One may have several reasons to become a sinner, but when he gives up that sin, he is saved. Here we separate the person and the sin. When a person confesses his mistakes without pride, at that moment of confession itself, his personality is considered to be merged or aligned with the Atma. Body may be that of a thief or a demon. We can see several such stories in our scriptures. Only those who have not done complete surrender, Sharanagati, are killed. If Ravana had given up his pride, even at his last moments, and taken refuge in Rama, Rama would have released Ravana. Hence, to sum up with, we must understand that Ishvara is one, that Chaitanyam, that Brahman, but Devas are many. Ishvara is one, Devas are many. Hence, in Sri Rudram, it is not said that everything and everyone is divine, but it is said that everything and everyone is Ishvariya. Everyone has a place in it. Jai Sai Ram.
My humble pranams at Bhagwan's lotus feet, respected elders, devotees, practitioners of the Vedic path, and our participants in the Vedic conference. Sai Ram to one and all. Whenever we think of the Vedas, many of us, educated, so-called educated, we feel reverence. But with reverence, we also feel distance. The reason for this distance could be belief, basically. And what are our beliefs? Some of us believe that it is all written in Sanskrit, it is esoteric, it's beyond us. Some of us believe it is meant for only some people. Some of us believe that only what is practical is required. We do not need to look. This is all heritage. Let us keep it there. These are the general beliefs that surround the so-called modern way of thinking. But what Swami tells us is that Vedas are not the relic of a past. Vedas are living truth. They are the waters from which humanity must drink and replenish themselves and their culture, their living, their society. Swami, in fact, when he describes the avataric mission on why Bhagwan comes down to earth, why the avatar comes, one of the reasons which is oft quoted by Swami himself is Veda Poshana. To establish Vedas, Bhagwan has descended. How does he do it? Number one, he embedded it in our everyday lives. Vedas are chanted every day in the mandir. Devotees are a part of it. Vedas are taught in all his educational institutions, and they have to learn it. In every auspicious function that is done, it begins with the Vedas. In the whole of India and the world, Bal Vikas teaches again the Vedas. Swami encouraged the learning and the chanting of the Vedas. But Swami also took every instance to talk about it. Whether it was the Atirudra Mahayagnams, whether it was Dashara, whether it was the numerous discourses that Swami gave. Even in the Vahinis, Swami wrote about the Vedas. So let us use the Vedic style now, the Prashna and the Uttara, and look at what a novice like me would ask and what would the Veda Pushta himself say. Question 1. What is the importance of the Vedas? Why should we learn it? Why should we chant it? Swami has said in his discourses numerous times that the Veda is very, very holistic in its approach. From the very material, mundane to the most spiritual, and as Madam just explained, the transcendental truths are in the Vedas. There is no realm of human experience and beyond human experience which is not embedded in the Veda. Why should such a holistic view be important at all? When we believe in the holistic view, Swami says, it brings out the broadest perspective of ourself. And that is where human values get born. For example, oneness is the principle of the Vedas. When, yesterday when Madam was speaking, she was talking about the quantum lens. And if you use the quantum lens, you see everything as vibration. And there is no distinction between material, non-material, sentient, and any kind of being is covered in that. That's oneness. If you can experience or understand, even in a limited sense, the oneness, wouldn't it create samatva? Wouldn't it also foster tyaga, sacrifice? Because sacrifice here is giving yourself to yourself, There is no sacrifice. Actually, sacrifice is a misnomer over there. It is giving oneself. So the bed of human values is in the Vedas. And when Vedas are practiced, Swami says, peace and harmony will result. One of the beautiful things about the Indian culture is it divinizes everything. There is no element of life or natural living which is not touched by divinity. And similarly, when we spiritualize everything that is natural, the spiritual becomes natural. And here lies the gift of what our Vedas and our culture gives humanity. Question 2. If it is so important, why did it decline? And Swami says, though there are a lot of physical and historical and so many other external reasons why the Vedas declined, and you can read n number of expositions on that. But Swami concentrated in most of his discourses on the internal reasons of the decline. And one thing which Swami said quite often was neglect, indifference. Indifference of the Bharatiyas over centuries led to the decline of the Vedas. I mean, to make my point, I'll just read what Bhagwan exactly said. He said, each of the Vedas have several shakhas or branches, and the upashakhas, which means sub-branches. Out of the 20 branches and 21 branches of the Rig Veda, only 3 have survived today. Likewise, out of the 96 branches of the Yajur Veda, only 2 have survived the ravages of time. Sama Veda, which had 1,000 branches, retains only 3 branches. If so much of spiritual treasure is contained in the few branches of Vedas that have survived, how much greater would have been the spiritual heritage of the Bharatiyas if the Vedas had survived in their entirety. It is because of the neglect of the Vedas that the spiritual and scientific knowledge of the Bharatiyas experience steady decline. As a consequence, and this is the dangerous part, they developed a narrow outlook and the broadness of vision suffered. Another painful reason that Bhagwan highlights for the decline of the Vedas is commercialization. It's like having a gift and not knowing its value and using it for a purpose which is way beneath it. So when the chanting was divorced from character, when the scholarship becomes divorced from practice, then the reverence is lost. And when reverence is lost, then the decline is inevitable. One more thing which people often talk about for the cause of decline, and which Swami also has referred in his discourses, is about why when you don't have self-identity in your own culture, you begin to ape other cultures. So we always hear of how we ape the West. And Swami gave a beautiful story to make the point. He said, when the hotel owner has a headache, he goes to the pharmacist or the chemist and takes a tablet. But when the chemist has a headache, he comes to the hotel to drink coffee. Meaning to say, the East, he says, looked at the West for its own definition of mental peace through a material means, while the West looked to the East, again, for mental peace. Another thing which we sometimes think, as I said, as novices or as those who are not exposed to the greatness of Veda, is to believe that it is meant for a select few. Not just in terms of intellectual thing, but okay, Brahmins are meant to chant. Swami said that Brahminhood is not birth-based, it is conduct-based. When conduct of discrimination, viveka, of reverence, and the right conduct is, practiced, only then you get the arahata, to be a Brahmin. Now comes the next question, which we all know. Why did Swami, what were the reasons when Swami universalized the Vedas, allowed women to chant Vedas, said every nation is welcome to chant the Vedas. It doesn't belong only to India, but to the entire world. And Swami has spoken about this too in his discourses. While talking about why women should be permitted to chant, Swami said, in the realm of jnana, there is no discrimination. In a physical sense, yes, there are limitations or there are variations in men and women, but not in jnanam. And Swami quoted scriptural history. He said, don't we have the instances of Parameshwara himself teaching Parvati? Don't we have luminaries like Gargi and Maitreyi who not only mastered these branches of knowledge, but also would debate intellectually also? He also, Swami speaks of Sulabha Yogini, so many instances where Vedas were practiced. Vedic life also was lived by both men and women. Now coming to the fact of why is it a global or universal principle, Swami says that take something like gravitational force, he said. These are all Swami's examples, not mine. Believe me, it's 100% plagiarism here. So when Swami was talking about the gravitational force, he said, Newton discovered it. It existed much before Newton discovered it. Hence, that knowledge belongs to everyone. Similarly, the Vedas are not by humankind. It's not invented by human beings. The sages only received the divine vision, and therefore it pre-existed, as the speaker before me also emphasized. Even much before creation, the Vedas existed. Hence, it belongs to the whole of humanity. There cannot be a distinction in that. Now comes the most difficult question. How does one revive this culture? How does one relive the Vedic tradition? This also, Swami is so kind. There is nothing which he has not left for us. He's peeled the banana, mashed it, and kept it in front of us so that we may partake of it. So in this case, Swami says, the first thing we must have is faith. Because with faith comes the real, in form of a deservance to it. I would again tell you an incident which happened in order to support what I'm saying. So it once happened, this was during the Dashara Yagnam, and the Vedas were being chanted, and Swami would ask the boys to chant, as you all know. He would give them the, kashaya dress and then ask them to chant. And Swami would be very proud, like a proud father, feeling very happy when the boys are chanting it. And as is with Swami, he would, after the thing, he would go behind in the Purnachandra thing. The Vedam boys would follow. And then Swami looked at all the guests and he was answering questions. And then he said, then one of the guests said, Swami, your boys have chanted the Vedas so well. And Swami beams. And then he says, yes, but they are not only Veda chanters, they are students also. They study secular knowledge and they also learn this. Swami was showing off like a proud parent. And then this gentleman who was the guest, he asked, Swami, do they know the meaning of the Vedas? And now came the point of terror. The boys knew the meaning of the Vedas in a general sense, but if you quiz them about it, they may probably not pass. So they immediately, what do we do when we are in a tight situation? Om Shri Sai Ram. So he started praying, Bhagwan, please, please, Swami, you save us, don't embarrass us, and don't let us let you down, both. And then Swami, very sweetly, he said, oh yeah, they know the essence of the Vedas. And then Swami said, what is the essence? If you chant with your heart and with bhakti, with reverence, you don't need to know. The benefits in terms of peace and prosperity will come. When he added, it's a beautiful example. So I don't know whether he was saving them or he was revealing to us, but whichever way it was. Swami said, you know, when a mother takes a little child and sings a lullaby, which could be a classical song, whatever, she's singing it. Does the child understand the words? Does the baby understand the words? No. Does the baby even understand which raga, which tala, what it is? Nothing. But the baby knows it is the song of love. It can feel the love. And baby knows it should surrender. This was Swami's example of it. And then Swami said, so put your heart and soul and chant. It will open up because the knowledge is within you too. So this is a beautiful way. Another story which Swami said, again, about faith. You know, India's culture, Swami said, always lives in the villages because there are a whole lot of people who still follow that old tradition of life with no complications. They are, let's hope, untouched by AI, mobile phones, social media, and all other things. Now, it so happened that there was this very rustic woman in Pahalgam. This was during the Shirdi avatar. And she used to keep 3 pots in her house, drawn from 3 different wells in the village. That means every morning she would go to each well and draw 1 pot of water, which she called Ganga, Yamuna, and Saraswati. And she would keep it and worship them at home. And any guest comes, she would mix the 3 waters and say it's Triveni Sangamam and give them. The whole village indulged her, and some of them mocked at her, some of them laughed at her. And this was, they'd say, oh, you're going to give us Triveni Sangamam? Okay, that kind of thing. And some of them tried to logically tell her that how can the 3 villages in your 3 wells in your village be connected to some rivers which are so far away. Now one day it so happened that her husband decided to go on a Tirtha Yatra to Kashi. Now those days, if you went that far, it was quite a perilous journey, and so the whole village literally gives you a send-off. And so happened that the mother, that is the mother-in-law of our heroine here, she gave her son her gold ring with a stone and told him, this is the mother's talisman, you wear it, you'll be safe. So the young man wore the ring and went on his pilgrimage. Unfortunately for him, in Manikarnika Ghat, when he was taking his dip, the ring slipped. Obviously, he couldn't find the ring in the water. He came back home and told his mother, Mother Ganges took my ring. Now his wife heard that. She was extremely offended. She said, why does Mother Ganges need your ring? And will she ever deprive a poor mother of her few worldly possessions? You are very wrong. It is impossible that Mother Ganges would take your ring. Maybe she dropped it. You dropped it, sorry, and she never took it. And so saying, indignantly, she marched off to her Ganga pot, put her hand and searched for the ring. And lo and behold, she found the ring. This is a story which Swami himself told. And then Swami added that then the mother, the husband, and the wife, they came to see me in Dwarakamai, he said. He was idealizing the faith, which is so important. Now what other than faith, okay? Faith is important. But you see, if we worship something, we have to worship with our mind, heart, and our hands. These are what given by God to us. Don't we need to use all 3 of them in whatever we do? So Swami says, spend some time in understanding to whatever extent you can. but live a God-centric life. Have the attitude of Tyaga and live exemplary lives. Only when all this comes together, then the Vedic tradition stays alive. Now, just before I finish, I want to read another section of what Swami said. This, do you know that the entire education mission of Bhagwan started with a Veda Pathshala? This was not a random event. And what Swami said in that discourse is really something to ruminate about. I will just read that out for you. Swami says, and I quote, "Faith can grow only on the soil of dharma with the fertile subsoil of Vedas. My task is to open your eyes to the glory of the Vedas and to convince you that Vedic injunctions, when put into practice, will yield the results promised. My task is to make you aware of your errors and the loss you are incurring, not only you who are here just now, but all the people of India and even the world. This Pathshala will grow into a university, establishing branches wherever there are other types of universities now. It will afford cool green shade for all. My prema towards the Veda is equaled only by my prema towards humanity. My mission, remember, is fourfold: Veda Poshana, Vidvat Poshana, Dharma Rakshana, Bhakta Rakshana. Spreading my grace, my power along these four directions, I establish myself in the center." 23rd November 1962. Bhagwan reminds us that the Vedas are the soul of Bharat and the hope of humanity. And their universalization is not about expanding in numbers. It is about expanding our consciousness. When lived with awareness, discrimination, and love, the Vedas will naturally radiate peace across homes, society, and nation. Jai Sai Ram.
Jai Sai Ram. I would like to thank both the Mahila speakers for today's this session for a very wonderful introduction or continuation of yesterday's theme. If one can summarize in one sentence, as Bhagavan says in the Bhagavad Gita, Shraddhavan labhate jnanam. Shraddha is the seed and from which we grow into the Vedas. To continue this session, it is my great privilege to introduce Professor Michael Sternfeld. He is a distinguished scholar specializing in Vedic psychology from Maharishi International University. He is engaged in consciousness studies. Specifically, he is an expert on the Ramayana. He has spent over 3 decades popularizing the Ramayana across continents, making its values accessible worldwide. He has created several videos and courses on the Ramayana, and his topic today is the power of love and dharma in the Ramayana, a Vedic framework for inner transformation and global harmony. I invite Professor Michael Sternfeld to deliver his lecture.
Pranams and Sai Ram. I deeply honor the holy tradition of Vedic masters who extend back to eternity. all those great lovers of knowledge, all those great exponents of knowledge who brought the continuity of Vedic knowledge from the distant past to the current present and into the future. Those great souls like Vasishta, Vyasa, the Saptarishis, Shankara, and in modern times, Satya Sai Baba, and my teacher and guru, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. I come from Fairfield, Iowa, the home of Maharishi International University, and I actually live in a community right outside there called Vedic City. Imagine in the center of the United States, a whole community based on the principles of Vedic knowledge. All the homes are built according to Vastu. We have a Vedic observatory. I could go on and on. Ayurvedic centers for treatment. All this was inspired by great teachers like Satya Sai Baba and my teacher, Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. In the middle of nowhere, in the central part of the United States, your knowledge has come to the West, and now I come back to share a little bit of this Vedic knowledge, especially in the form of Ramayana. And it's just extraordinary to me, the depth of knowledge for all the great speakers. I hope that I can, in my own small way, bring something back from the West to share with you. Ram Brahm Paramarat Rupa. Ram is Brahm, totality of unity. That'll actually be the conclusion of my talk, but I wanted to start with that to give a sense that Ram is Brahm, that totality that lives inside of us. This is the totality of Vedic knowledge. Now, you all know, I'll just repeat some of the essence. As we all know, Ramayana is Itihas, along with Mahabharata, these two great epics. And really, on an evolutionary value, I would like to suggest that the Ramayana is a direct means to the unfoldment of Brahman. Ram is Brahm. Now, we've learned, everyone knows there's the four primary Vedas, but in addition to the four primary Vedas of Rig, Sama, Atharva, and Yajurveda, there's all the branches of Vedic literature. And even though Itihas is more expressed value, more expressed, it's still, especially what I work with is Valmiki Ramayana. The Ramayana is also cognized. It's a Purashaya. The Ramayana was cognized by Valmiki with the direct input from Brahma himself. Valmiki went deep inside, cognized the essence of the story, inspired by sage Narada, and then poured out these 24,000 couplet verses. So the Ramayana is a branch of Veda and Vedic knowledge in the form of this extraordinary itihasa, which on one level is the history of total reality, but also the Ramayana is happening at every point in creation. The dynamics are an internal reality everywhere, and especially inside our own heart. So if we took all the abstract impulses of Vedic knowledge and put it in the form of one grand story, you would have Ramayana. The Ramayana makes all the abstract impulses of Vedic knowledge accessible to our emotions, to the flow of our life. It's Veda in story form. One way I like to describe it is Brahman on the stage. So when I was invited by Gortaji and Nimish Panda to speak, they invited me to speak on Dharma in the Ramayana. And I asked, could I expand that a little bit? Could I expand that to include the relationship between love and Dharma? And they said, very, very good, because Swami was all about the expression of love and the expansion of love. And that's what I would like to explore today with you, the relationship between love and Dharma in the Ramayana. Because the Ramayana is well known, it's a profound textbook. Many scholars look at it as a textbook for discriminating finer and finer levels of Dharma. we learn to discriminate by Ram's action. What's the path of right action? And I would say, and I've explored that. I've done one production called Ram's Dharma, Leadership Secrets of the Ultimate Warrior Sage Prince. So that was one of my audio productions, really refining what is Dharma. But as I've explored the Ramayana over these many years, I began to see that there was the twin forces, twin evolutionary forces, which was love and Dharma. And this can actually fuel and empower our whole evolutionary process. So I'd like to ground it now in personal experience, because let's just talk about our experience inside of us of what is love and Dharma. And you all know love is very easy to access for many of us. It starts when we're children, where we feel the love for our mother, and our mother feels the love for us, and we learn a little bit about what that love is. As we grow older, we learn a little bit about how we can open our heart and expand our heart. With expansion, we learn principles of experience of compassion, surrender, loving kindness, which is deeply connected with Satya Sai Baba, which I know this is one of the essence of his teachings. And we grow from that level of personal love to more universal love. And there's ultimately, when you think of love, there's a merging. It's an experience of unity as your heart expands to unity with the divine. And I think that's captured quite well in the expression from the Bhagavad Gita, where one sees all beings in the self, and the self in all beings. This is the growth of love, the expansion of our heart. And I just want you to get a sense of this is such a guiding essence, a principle of our life. Now let's turn to Dharma. Dharma, by its very nature, is more abstract because Dharma functions on principles. We're discriminating the path of right action that is in accord with Dharma, with nature. It brings in qualities of moral reasoning. And clearly this is expressed throughout the Ramayana. But just as love expanded from that small little pond of love to an ocean of love, in the same way, Dharma also by its own nature grows. And think of it in the Ramayana itself, where in the beginning, Ram is a young prince in Ayodhya, and he's learning the basic codes of conduct from his guru, Vasishta, and he's the eldest son. He's meant to be crowned prince, crowned king by Dasharatha. So we have fundamental principles and structure of right action. But then when Ram is exiled, he goes on a great heroic quest. By the way, it was the first heroic quest. The whole concept of heroic quest, which governs all of our movies, films, and great mythic adventures, begins with the Ramayana. So now he's on a quest in the beginning to purify, to honor his father's word, but at the same time, he's on a mission. And I'll explore that now. It's moving to the next level. Ram has a divine purpose. Now, many of us get caught up in the emotions of the story and we don't really forget, we all know it, but as we move through the story, we forget that the gods asked Vishnu himself to incarnate as a man to take out Ravana, to purify the world of ignorance embodied by the Rakshasas, headed by Ravana. This was a huge mission because nothing could take out Ravana. In his arrogance, he had gained immunity from all the gods, the demigods, the Rakshasas, the Gandharvas, everything, but he didn't mention men and monkeys because they were too puny to even consider. And that's why Ram incarnated as a man, as Ram, Dasharatha's son. You all know this, I'm just reminding us. So you can see Dharma is expanding to this divine mission that Ram had. And in the end of our story, after Sita returns to the earth, Ram really becomes a force of nature. He's Purusha, Purushottama, Maryada Purushottam Ram. So we can see that Dharma, as the story grows, as the story of our life grows, we're expanding to more and more wholeness, expansion of our sphere of influence, because the Dharma of a child, as one of the speakers mentioned, is quite different from the Dharma of an enlightened being, and very different from an avatar like Ram. So Dharma is moving towards wholeness, expansion of sphere of influence, ultimately, Dharma is aligning our individual consciousness with the flow of the entire universe. So now we've set the stage. That was my preamble, setting the stage for the relationship between love and Dharma. And for this, I actually am going to take a little bit of divergence into the Bhagavad Gita, although that would never be a divergence because that's part of the stream of Itihasa. And the reason why I'd like to bring up Arjuna on the battlefield of life at Kurukshetra. This is an archetypal expression of this dynamic of love and Dharma. And that's why I think it is good to invoke that. Because imagine Arjuna, the greatest warrior of his time. Some of the interpretations characterize him as being weak and uncertain. He was highly developed in his heart and deeply developed in a sense of Dharma. But he stood on the battlefield of Kurukshetra, and he looked knowing that he needed to fight to uphold Dharma, because the Kauravas were usurping power in an unrighteous way. He knew as a Kshatriya he had to fight, but he looked at those he would fight, his family, his kinsmen, Drona, his master in martial arts, Bhishma. These are people he loved. These are people who trained him. His heart swelled knowing, how can I possibly kill my family members? At the same time, he knew that he must, because if he did not, the world would lapse into adharma. It's no wonder it wasn't a sign of weakness. It was the absolute maximum level of love and maximum sense of dharma. And he said, there would be no value in gaining a kingdom if I have to kill my family members. And he's in a state of complete suspension, and Gandiva, the bow, slips from his hand. I will not fight. And this sets the stage for Krishna to enlighten Arjuna through these steps, taking him through Sankhya and through all the steps of Vedic knowledge, knowing ultimately in the peak in chapter 2 when he says, Yogasta Kuru Karmani. Nistregunyo, O Arjuna, go beyond the three gunas. Established in being, Yogasta Kuru Karmani, established in being, perform action. You have to be established in that deep sense of self, your absolute nature, so you can act without attachment. So now we're getting a sense, now I can shift back to the Ramayana, because obviously Mahabharata comes after the Ramayana. And by the way, when I referencing Ramayana, I'm speaking Valmiki Ramayana. I go back to the source. So now we get a sense of that suspension of heart and mind, and how it can serve us in the force of evolution. It's not a problem to be gotten rid of. It's not, oh, Arjuna made a mistake. He got confused between love and dharma. No, it took us to that maximum level, and we see this as an absolute pattern throughout the Ramayana. I can give a few examples. When Dasharatha is the betrayal by Kaikeyi, when she said, you must exile Ram to the forest for 14 years and make my son Bharat king. And she exacted a promise from Dasharatha that he would absolutely fulfill her two boons, which he had finally asked, these two boons that he had given her in the far past. Dasharatha had so much love for his son. That was the apple of his eye. He loved Ram more than his own life. And yet, he had promised Kaikeyi these two boons. He had to honor his word. He was torn apart by the love in his heart for his son and the unbearable force of nature, or that setup of karma, that he had to exile Ram. He could not reconcile this. He ended up dying of grief from the loss of his son when Ram went into exile. It's one example. Then when Bharat returns home and finds out what his mother Kaikeyi has done, he says, I will not accept this kingdom. Ram is the eldest. He deserves this kingdom. Our father has passed now. And he journeys into the forest. You all know the scene with Bharat Milap, where there's a formal debate between Bharat and Ram, where Bharat insists from his heart that Ram must come home now because their father is gone. The pledge was not necessary. It's not necessary to honor his word anymore. Bharat says, if you love me, you will come back. The people need you. Ram's own mother, Kausalya, insists that he must come back. Even Vasishta, his own guru, you always do what the guru says. Even Vasishta says you must come back. But Ram adhered to that deeper level of dharma. So here again, there was all this love of the people, and Ram, though adhered to, he had honored his father's, Dasharatha's word, but he had already agreed to Kaikeyi. He had to honor his own word, so that this upholding of the absolute commitment, because the word of the king must be upheld, otherwise dharma would dissolve. So once again, we have this feeling of love and dharma being at odds with each other. Once again, this is not a problem. This is the evolutionary force of the Ramayana. We see it in Agni Pariksha, when Sita steps into the fire. Ram has fought this incredible battle with all his allies, with Hanuman and the Vanaras. And we are all looking for this beautiful reunion of Ram and Sita. And yet he rejects her. It's so painful for us to see Ram seemingly rejecting Sita. But underneath, there's something happening there. And this is one of the secrets of the Ramayana. The secret is we're swinging with our emotions. The Vedas are very abstract. The Ramayana works on our emotional bodies. Because our heart is going, no, Ram, you can't treat Sita like this. At the same time, we have a sense of there's an unfolding dharma that's at a deeper level. And actually, it's a great teaching, because after that scene where Hanuman is aghast with what he's doing, Lakshman, everyone, even Valmiki, Brahma himself comes to remind Ram of his own nature, that he is Vishnu incarnate. So if Ram, for a moment, whether it was a Leela or not, Ram for a moment seems to forget his own nature. It's important to really go back to the original text, because these are all cut out of the abridged versions, and you begin to see that there's this deeper level of unfolding. And this is what I want to get across now. This is the essence, is this dynamic between love and dharma is the powerful evolutionary force of how Ramayana works, how nature works, how our life works. In our everyday life, this happens to us all the time. I'm sure you could bring up examples in your own life where you feel sometimes the suspension between love and dharma, and you see it as a problem. I wish this wouldn't be like this. I'm asking you to reframe it as an opportunity to move your evolution. And the greater the opposite values, the more power, potential power for your evolution to grow and expand. And this is something that happens throughout Itihasa, throughout Mahabharata and Ramayana. You could even say that there's a binary code embedded inside the Ramayana. I gave 3 examples. I could give you dozens of examples from Ramayana, but time maybe won't allow. Where one value comes up, Dasharatha's love for his son, and his commitment to Kaikeyi. Ram needing to go back to accept the kingship, but he must honor his father's word. So there's this binary code, one value, opposite value. And it forces us to swing with our emotions between expansion and contraction, between love and dharma. What is the right path? There's absolute ambiguity in the Ramayana. If there's many gray areas, it starts very simple, but as the story proceeds, it becomes a little bit grayer, more ambiguous. In business, there's case studies. You could call it case studies where we have to really, because people go through graduate school and get their MBA, they know that they have these case studies where it's a test for how they discriminate. So that's what's happening as you go through the Ramayana. That's why it's such a powerful evolutionary tool. So what I'm going to invite you to start thinking of the Ramayana, not, people always say, this means this, and it's a process. It's a process-oriented guide to life where you learn not just discriminate dharma, but also how to expand your heart and the relationship between them. Purifies your emotional body along the way. So the process of the swing of your emotions is extremely important in the growth of your comprehension, your vision, your knowledge, and your heart. But we know in the Bhagavad Gita, I'm using that as a reference a lot, is that, it's supposed to go beyond the pair of opposites, dvandva in Sanskrit. Go beyond the pair of opposites, beyond the field of attraction and aversion. Yes, that's the end goal. But it's the process along the way that is so profound. And then yet you meet at that place where occasionally we are like Arjuna, totally in suspension. We don't know what to do. And this is the key, the transcendent function. This is the key to Itihas, Ramayana and Mahabharata. We have these seemingly irreconcilable values. We must honor the word, but we love. We're always torn with this feeling. This is the powerful evolutionary. And the key is transcending to a deeper level of synthesis that somehow embraces these seemingly irreconcilable values. The word in Sanskrit is nivartatvam, nivartatvam, nivartatvam. Transcend to a deeper level of synthesis that embraces these seemingly, I use the word seemingly, opposing values, because they only appear to be the play of opposites. There's a deeper level of unity that somehow underlies that. That is what is unfolding as you open yourself into the Ramayana and the teachings and the knowledge of the Ramayana and Mahabharata, Upanishads, all the branches of Vedic literature. And that's why I said at the very beginning, the Ramayana is a direct means for the unfoldment of Brahman. Ram is the light of life in the heart of everyone. And I would incorporate Sitaram, because after Sita returned to earth, Ram was known as Sitaram. And that's a beautiful blend of love and dharma when you have that name, Sitaram. I believe that it's a rare instance where Ram Avatar was joined by Sita Avatar. Ram and Lakshmi came together as a dynamic duo to purify the world of ignorance. They were co-creators in this dharma. So I invite you to see Ram and Sita as this embodiment of love and dharma, seeing their knit together wholeness on the outside and within your heart. Now, I was also asked that it's not only for our personal evolution, which I've focused on primarily in my talk today, but how does this affect global society? And I know I'm in a panel later this afternoon, perhaps I can go into it because I imagine I'm getting close to being out of time, is to think, when you think of conflict resolution, which is, we're experiencing right and left, interesting right and left on the political level, on the civilizational level, there's conflict. Once again, I'm going to invite conflict. Once again, you could always reduce it to these two principles of love and dharma. I'd like to invite you to see the world through this lens of love and dharma. And what's the template that I've suggested is when there seems to be conflicts, seemingly irreconcilable conflicts, there's always the principle of love and unity and connection. There's always the principle of dharma, discriminating the path of right action and aligning with that universal flow. And you can trace that down and find the underlying unity. This is Veda in action. This is incorporating the principles of Vedic knowledge and the teachings of Ramayana into your daily life. Look for places to resolve conflict by sinking into a deeper level of yourself. Every moment, every day, Navartatvam, we transcend. We transcend in our meditation. We transcend when we chant. We transcend when we say Sai Ram. So I hope I've given you a vision of possibilities for this field of Ramayana, which I love. I was invited by my own teacher and guru to pick one branch of Vedic knowledge and become an expert in it. So I just started. It's been 34 years now of just Ram, Ram, Ram. And then Hanuman and Sita are three primary impulses and streams of knowledge. And the final word I'd like to say is the Ramayana, to restate, is happening at every point in creation. These dynamics are not ancient stories from some ancient text. They're happening right now within all of you. Thank you so much.
Gowri Ganesh, Suma Ganesh, Gowri Ganesh, Suma Ganesh, Gowri Ganesh, Suma Ganesh, Gowri Ganesh, Suma Ganesh, Parvati Nandana Shri Ganesh, Parvati Nandana Shri Ganesh, Parvati Nandana Shri Ganesh, Parvati Nandana Shri Ganesh, Sharanam 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 Ganesh, Shivanandana Ganapati Ganesh, Shivanandana Ganapati Ganesh, Shivanandana Ganapati Ganesh, Shivanandana Ganapati Ganesh, Gowri Ganesh, Suma Ganesh, Gowri Ganesh, Suma Ganesh, Parvati Nandana Shri Ganesh, Parvati Nandana Shri Ganesh, Sharanam Ganesh, Sharanam Ganesh, Sharanam Ganesh, Sharanam Ganesh, Shivanandana Ganapati Ganesh, Shivanandana Ganapati Ganesh, साई, साई पिता और माता साई, साई पिता और माता साई, साई पिता और माता साई, दीन दयाला दाता साई, दीन दयाला दाता साई, दीन दयाला दाता साई, दीन दयाला दाता साई, साई पिता और माता साई, साई पिता और माता साई, साई गुरु साई सखा सहोदर, 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 साई सत्य शिव साई सुंदर, 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 वेद उपनिषद गीता साई, वेद उपनिषद गीता साई, वेद उपनिषद गीता साई, वेद उपनिषद गीता साई, दीन दयाला दाता साई, दीन दयाला दाता साई, दीन दयाला दाता साई, दीन दयाला दाता साई, साई पिता और माता साई, साई पिता और माता साई, साई गुरु साई सखा सहोदर, साई गुरु साई सखा सहोदर, साई सत्य शिव साई सुंदर, साई सत्य शिव साई सुंदर, वेद उपनिषद गीता साई, वेद उपनिषद गीता साई, दीन दयाला दाता साई, दीन दयाला दाता साई, दीन दयाला दाता साई, दीन दयाला दाता साई, साई पिता और माता साई, हे शेष शयना नारायणा, हे शेष शयना नारायणा, हे शेष शयना नारायणा, हे शेष शयना नारायणा, वेदाभरणा नारायणा, वेदाभरणा नारायणा, वेदाभरणा नारायणा, वेदाभरणा चरणा नारायणा पावन चरणा नारायणा साई पावन चरणा नारायणा साई पावन चरणा नारायणा नारायणा हरि नारायणा नारायणा हरि नारायणा नारायणा हरि नारायणा नारायणा हरि नारायणा नारायणा साई नारायणा नारायणा साई नारायणा नारायणा साई नारायणा नारायणा साई नारायणा शेष शयना नारायणा जय जगदीश हरि स्वामी सत्य साई हरि भक्त जना संरक्षक भक्त जना संरक्षक पति महेश्वरा ओम जय जगदीश हरि शशिवदना श्रीधरा सर्वा प्राणपति स्वामी सर्वा प्राणपति आश्रित कल्पलतिका आश्रित कल्पलतिका आवद्बान्धवा ओम जय जगदीश हरि माता पिता गुरुदैवं मरियन्तयु नीवे स्वामी मरियन्तयु नीवे नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथा नाद ब्रह्म जगन्नाथा नागेन्द्राश्रयणा ओम जय जगदीश हरि ओंकार रूप ओजस्वी वो साई महादेवा सत्य साई महादेवा मंगल हारति अंदुको मंगल हारति अंदुको मंदर गिरिधारी ओम जय जगदीश हरि नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण 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 ओम नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम सत्य नारायण नारायण ओम जय सद्गुरुदेवा ओम शांति 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 समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु समस्त लोकाः सुखिनो भवन्तु शांति 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 जय बोलो भगवान श्री सत्य साई बाबा जी की जय।
ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्। 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 ॐ साईश्वराय विद्महे सत्यदेवाय धीमहि तन्नः सर्वप्रचोदयात्।